Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Bags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Horror Heaven77, and yeah, I thought I'd go ahead and I'd talk about this movie mainly because we got the big box, deluxe edition from Arrow coming out next week, and I got to admit I'm really surprised that they're going to go ahead and put this movie out. Um, well, no sense in dragging out the suspense, but I'll go ahead and say, we're going to talk about Wes Craven's movie, The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 from 1985. And I know that there are probably people out there who are thinking, like out of all the movies in the world that Arrow could put out on Blu-ray in a big deluxe box edition, and why this movie? And I know a lot of people, even Wes Craven fans, feel like this is not his finest moment. Um, even Wes Craven himself said ultimately he wasn't really happy with the results. It was just kind of more like a movie that was, so, he needed a job basically, if I understood right, that, he needed a job. He just wanted to get a picture made. And so, they told him, well, why don't you and Peter Locke get together? And see, that was the thing. The original Hills Have Eyes was actually a pretty big hit movie. It was doing good in the drive-ins and good in theaters and stuff. The only thing was that, Smokey and the Bandit came out and hurt that movie and, kind of kicked out. But it was going to be number one for a little while. So, but they were like, that movie actually was the original Hills Have Eyes. The movie was actually a pretty decent hit. So why don't you maybe make a sequel to it? So they did. And they came up with this movie. And now, like I said, I know Craven wasn't really happy with it. May he rest in peace. I know some of his fans are not really happy with it. I actually enjoy this movie, warts and all. I mean, it's definitely got some problems, which I'll get to in just a minute. But overall, I really do like this movie. I enjoy it. Maybe because, see, it came out in 1985. I would have been 8 years old at the time I saw this. And I don't know, maybe just as a child, I was easily amused. But, this isn't like Wes Craven's most intellectual film, obviously. I mean, Wes Craven, he was always known for writing these very intellectual, very smart films. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, things like that. So, yeah, this may not be his most intellectual film, but truth be told, this is definitely one of his more entertaining movies. Because I hate to say, he's got a couple of movies that, and you really don't understand how much it hurts me to say this because I have such a soft spot in my heart for Wes Craven. I grew up on his movies, even ones that a lot of people don't like, a lot of movies of his that people bash, like Swamp Thing or, like Shocker or something. Some people trash those movies. I enjoy his movies. I know like nowadays it's kind of like the popular consensus is that the remake of Hills Have Eyes is infinitely better than the original. I don't agree with that. Personally, I think when it comes to the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, the third act is the only thing that saves it. Now, I mean, granted, the third act has more gore, has more action, things like that. But, the first two acts of the movie is just remaking Craven's movie and only, in my opinion, not doing it as well. But anyway, we're not talking about the original. We're talking about this one. So anyway, our story starts off. It's years later after the events of the first movie, and Bobby, played by Robert Houston, returning, from the original movie. He's trying to move on with his life, but he's still very traumatized by the events of what happened in the original movie. We know that because in the beginning, he's talking to a psychiatrist, and we find out that he and Ruby from the original movie, now she changed her name to April, and Janus Blythe, who played Ruby in the original Hills Have Eyes, comes back and, reprises her role as well. But now she goes by the name Rachel. So the two of them are together, and it turns out Bobby has, created this formula for, it's almost kind of like NOS or something for, dirt bikes, motorbikes. And the thing is that they're going to, got Bobby, Ruby / Rachel, and these other characters. You got like this one guy. I think the idea in the script, his name is Hulk, but the guy's not really that big. I think maybe like when Craven wrote the script, I think maybe he imagined like a bigger guy for that part. There's Cass, who's turns out to be the main girl. She's blind. Her boyfriend, Roy, You got Peter Frechette from movies like The Unholy and Grease 2 and stuff like that. You got Willard Pugh, from The Color Purple and all these other movies. Yeah, you do have a decent cast of actors and actresses from here. You really do. And you got Penny Johnson from 24. So, you got like a good, decent cast in this movie. And that's the thing. For, like I said, entertaining wise, these characters, they're kind of goofballs, but they're likable. They joke around, they kind of rib each other a little bit, they give each other shit, but you could tell they all genuinely like each other. They're all friends, they all get along. Some kind of go a little overboard, but for the most part, they're good characters. They're likable. So I mean that to me, speaks volumes is the fact that, at least, maybe they're not the best characters in a horror film ever, but at least they're likable. So anyway, so Bobby, he's so, traumatized by the events of the original movie, he decides he can't go out into the desert again. And Rachel, Ruby, she decides she'll go and she'll handle the business and everything else, and she'll get him there and get him back safe. So it's like, okay. So they're going along, and then, as the movie progresses, they're getting, mixed up. Of course, this was 1985. You didn't have like Google Maps or any of that stuff yet. So everybody's like trying to, everybody's trying to figure out where they're going. But then the road signs turn out they're all messed up and everything. And then we realize that, that pretty much the road signs have been tampered with to basically lead people out into the desert, basically in the same area where the events of the original movie happened. And then they get out there, and then they realize that they're now going to be under attack. And you got the two basically kind of like remaining family members from the original movie. You got Pluto, played by Michael Berryman here, who, just for him alone to come back, that was, that's enough of a treat just to watch him, come back and play again. See him again. And you got this character, the Reaper, who, while the character is, he's not altogether bad, but I'm not really keen on his backstory. The fact that he's ultimately Papa Jupe's big brother, and that doesn't work, and I will admit that Craven did make a mistake in that sense, because, you have that wonderful scene in the original Hills Have Eyes where, you got that wonderful scene at the gas station where it's dark and spooky, and you got the atmosphere going, and you got, old Fred telling Big Bob Carter about, the demon child and everything else, how he came out and tore poor Martha apart and burned the baby girl and all that other kind of stuff. But there was no mention of another child, especially a bigger child, So I was like, so yeah, he kind of messed up on that one. I do admit he flawed on that one. Personally, I think what he should have done was maybe have something like, okay, the pretty much the main character, the family, the cannibal family from the original movie was kind of decimated, except for maybe the mother, it's like, but you could also say she died too if you didn't want to include her in this movie. But, you could have had Pluto follow in the footsteps of his father, because when old Fred is telling Big Bob Carter the story about, long enough for him to steal a whore that nobody missed, long enough to raise a passel of wild kids, long enough for a devil kid to grow up to be a devil man, you could have just had Pluto follow in his footsteps, and then Pluto become, like the main baddie, and he could have had his own family, and he could have stolen, a prostitute that nobody had missed, and raise his own pack of wild kids and stuff. Okay, yeah, like time wise, it wouldn't have, you wouldn't have been able to have them like full grown, but you could have like creepy little, that would have been an interesting idea. Creepy little cannibal kids running around, stuff like that. But anyway, so they get out there and, they run afoul of the cannibals, and then, one by one, they start getting picked off, and, I know I've heard, not a lot, but I've heard a couple of people say, well, this is Wes Craven's attempt at trying to make a Friday the 13th movie, because it very much has a slasher formula. You got, your group of, like 30-year-old teenagers being picked off one by one. You even got the music scored by Harry Manfredini. So, yeah, you got, what was his name? Kevin Blair, who, that's not his real name, but he played in, Friday the 13th Part 7, so a lot of people kind of felt like this was Wes Craven's attempt at trying to do something like Friday the 13th, but still. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. Like I said, there are some things wrong with this movie in that some of the storyline doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people. A lot of people definitely. The one thing everybody always talked about, and the one thing everybody always criticized was the fact there's a scene where a dog has a flashback. But then again, too, though, it's all like people. That's so damn stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it's like, but then again, dogs do remember things. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a dog. I don't know the psychology of dogs and stuff, but it just seems like if you talk about like how a dog can remember somebody from their scent or remember somebody from the noise like they make when they walk or something. It's like, how is it dogs can't have memories? I don't know. But anyway, though, we're not here to talk about that. But and that's another thing too that's great. You got the dog Beast. Beast is back, so that's great that they brought him back. So now you got Michael Berryman, who he squared off with the dog in the original movie, does it again in this movie, and so yeah. But like I said, if you're a fan of the original movie, if you're not a fan of the original movie, then yeah, chances are you're probably not going to like this one either. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe because just for me personally, I have more affection for this movie over the remake. That's just me. But this movie is to me, like I said, this isn't Wes Craven's most intellectual film, but it's definitely very entertaining. The characters are entertaining. They're fun. They're goofballs. They're trying to have a good time, and um, you know, that was like another thing though too. Being an 8-year-old kid, I thought that was like an amazing thing to watch a movie where the main survivor girl who by the way too, she's not a virgin, just so you know, because it's hinted at the beginning of the movie that her and her boyfriend are going to have a quickie before they head out. But the main character of the movie is a woman who's blind. So I thought, to me, that made it all the more suspenseful and intriguing because I hadn't, when I saw this, I hadn't seen movies like Wait Until Dark or anything like that by then. So I thought that was super cool. Wow, the idea of a woman who's blind, but she's actually able to fight back and able to be strong and able to outsmart, and all this kind of stuff. Michael Berryman, he does a great job playing the bad guy again, and like he always does. Just makes you another case of him being that horror icon that we all know and love. Um, but you know, a little bit of gore here. It's not overly gory, but I mean, like right there, you got some good graphic gore there, and stuff, and so you got some good. I think is a good action scene. Is the scene, and to me that was fun. That was totally entertaining to watch. Was where Pluto steals the motorbike and he's going across the desert, and the two guys go on the get on the motorbikes and have that great motorbike chase across the desert. I thought that scene was cool. That's just me. Like I said, maybe because I was 8 years old, maybe I was just easier to amuse then or something. But I don't know. But overall, I don't mind this movie, and it was just another stepping stone to me becoming a huge Wes Craven fan. And so I'm actually definitely looking forward to the Arrow version coming out. I'm definitely going to upgrade from this one because this one has hardly anything. See, they're just trailers and gallery. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to be upgrading this when it comes out. But I just I think this movie's a little underappreciated. I mean, it's got flaws to it. I'm not going to lie about that. And I'm probably pretty sure that probably some of the bonus features are going to be a lot of down talking on this movie. But for what it is, I really enjoy it. It's a great 80s horror film. It's fun. It's entertaining. Like I said, it's not the most smartest thing Wes Craven's ever done, but still, I think I've definitely spent, 90 minutes exactly. I've definitely spent 90 minutes watching movies that are infinitely worse than this. So, I mean, at least this movie has some entertainment value. You got some blood, some gore, some good kills, some fun stuff. You got Harry Manfredini doing a great score. If you're a Friday the 13th fan, hey, are you really going to complain about hearing Harry Manfredini in another movie? So, yeah. I just, I do. I think this movie is a little underappreciated, and it's like, I know I may be in the very big minority here, but I'm really happy to see that Arrow got a hold of this and, they're going to do justice to it. And I can't wait to pick it up. So, Anyway, that's The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. I don't want to tell you too much more. It's like I'd like for you to watch the movie, but like I said, it's got some, like, to me, like I said, the action scene chase across the desert, I thought that was fun. It's like, I like the characters overall. I like the humor of it. Some parts made me jump, so I don't know, but that's just me. So anyway, that's it. Uh, I if anybody took the time to watch the video, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like the video. Maybe check out my other channel, Horror Heaven 77. Do movie reviews and haul videos on there. But at the same time, though, too, if you haven't already, this is the first time watching it, subscribe to the Body Bags channel. We got great guys doing great stuff. We have a different reviewer for every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. Everybody kind of brings their own flair to it. Everybody kind of, it's like Rob from Georgia. If you notice, you'll find out he's kind of like our resident Italian horror expert and everything, which he's good at it. He really is. But everybody's got their own flavor to it. So yeah, please check everybody out and subscribe to the Body Bags channel. Until next week, take care, and I'll see you later.